Hey, what's up everybody? Joey J. Ping here, checking in live, respectmyregion.com. Here today, the Cosmopolitan Suite Hotel, Las Vegas, Nevada, MJbizcon 2025. We've got a very special guest, Matt Shterenberg, Deeproots Partners, digital marketing agency, cannabis dispensaries, cannabis delivery services. It's a pleasure to have you here. How you doing, bro? Good morning.
Dude, I'm great.
I appreciate you joining today. This is our first episode together, Matt. I've known you for a number of years. I've been running around this whole...
It's almost a decade. 2017.
Yeah, oh God. Yeah.
So it'll be a decade, almost.
Yeah.
Eight-ish years.
You gave me a lot of game about SEO. We did some blogs together years ago, and ever since then, it has been incredibly inspiring watching you grow as a business owner, entrepreneur, and just helping other people grow. And so I just want to say I appreciate you and what you do, and also too for working with us on these episodes. Now, Matt, the episode's not about us, it's about you. So I want to talk a little bit about Deeproots Partners and what you guys are doing here at the show, what you're looking for. You were telling me offline the three things that you focus on: high converting websites, Google Ads, SEO. So I want to break those down a little bit. But first, tell the people a little bit about who you are. I think it's important that people work with individuals that they like, a real person. So let's share a little bit about your background and what, why you do this.
Yeah, so a little bit of my background, kind of why I kind of got into the space. So, so I'll take it back to 2014. I was graduating high school, and I was initially going to go to Berklee College of Music. Decided not to go because it was crazy expensive to go get a music degree for $250,000 a year. And I'm a drummer, so it was initially my passion. So I started, working in LA with some record labels, some licensing companies like BMG. Cool. And I did that for a little bit, and then somebody I was working with started a delivery service. Okay. And initially they're like, "Hey, I'm starting a delivery," and I was like, "Oh, what are you delivering?" And he was like, "Well, delivering weed." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I probably won't jump into that with you, but I'll take a look at it. And, I just kept researching. I was 19 at the time, and I was like, what am I going to do? I have a career in weed. And then, just kept looking at it, started seeing the writing on the wall. And I was like, hey, what's going on with the business? And I hit him up, and it was a legitimate business. He showed me all the paperwork. This is California Prop 215, and my eyes kind of wide open. So I said, all right, let me jump in. And so I starred, literally doing marketing, selling packs to shops. This was just
wearing all the hats.
Just wearing all the hats. And I just I really fell in love with the business from that aspect. And I found kind of my niche and lane within the marketing aspect. And so that was more of the business, excitement part. And then on a personal level, kind of a traditional story a lot of people have. It helped a family member out with some depression, and I was I had a client that I did consulting for, a guy named Alan Hoskins. He ran a brand called Raw Flower.
And the RSO loved Alan. I love Alan still. I seen him the other day.
And he had a 30-to-1 CBD cap that I gave my my family member, and it really changed everything.
He routinely gave me capsules for my mom to send to my mom. That is a great individual.
Yeah, he's awesome, and that's where I really was oh, this is actually helping people, and it was not just the business. For me, I saw the business first, and then I just through that kind of that family event really saw the saw the good that it can do. Saw the good that it can do. And then really from there, I've always been someone that likes to be of service to people. And I was good at marketing. Through the delivery service. This is 2017, this is early, 2015 when I jumped in. It was 2015 and 2017 I was doing the delivery. And,
So I met you right after that.
Yeah, right after that. Yeah. Okay. And so, we built a WooCommerce site. This was when it was just literally Weed Maps was just the game. And so we started testing stuff, and I started figuring out what worked. And then that turned into helping, a couple of the stores that I was, selling packs to. And I was like, hey, can I help you with marketing? And then that turned into the first agency I had when we met, Grow Studios, where we did a bunch of work. That was, we just took on any project that would take us, whether it was a brand, doing video content, whatever it is. And then throughout that experience, the best clients that we had were retailers. We would come in, we would do their website, we would handle their SEO, and then when we brought in local SEO, that's when we saw the dollars really turn. Talking about like an extra 100,000 a month for these local retailers. The Kind Center.
Put a little gas in the right car, you can go a little faster here.
Yeah, and that's when I wasn't even an SEO by trade. I was just like, oh, like this actually works. We brought in somebody, and then with that business, that sort of took its life cycle, and I hopped over. We ended up closing that business down, and then I hopped over to another agency. It was a traditional agency that wanted to get into cannabis. It was a larger creative agency, and spent some time there. Realized I didn't enjoy working for somebody, and then COVID happened, and then so I was sort of forced back into entrepreneurship.
Yep. Everybody in cannabis pivoted really aggressively back into digital.
In 2020, because I remember even when we had the agency, I was talking to dispensaries, and they're like, I don't want to do SEO. That's crazy. What are you talking about? What do you mean acquiring our own customers? And 2020 hit, and people were like freaked out. They didn't know what to do. They were like, I can't do these billboards anymore. Weed Maps is expensive. And I said, well, we can try this. And the artistry in California was the first client that I brought on back in 2020. We
worked on the HPC stuff.
We worked on the HPC stuff together, and that worked out really, really well. It was also the heyday of when cannabis dispensaries really made money, especially with those COVID checks.
Some of those dispensaries made hand over fist.
Yeah, so 2020 to 2022 was a really, really good period where we built up the agency. We really just focused on local SEO, content, link building, optimizing Google business profiles, and that was really, really the hyper focus.
Those are key areas that dispensaries should be doing and putting effort into specifically.
Yeah, especially the Google business profile. Even if you don't have a website, treat that Google business profile like
your homepage,
like your homepage, like it's gold. Because one, it's free for Google, and you just want to name it right. Want to make sure you have your brand name. Try to get the word dispensary for a delivery. Get the word weed delivery in there, and then have a good optimized description. Basically check off all the boxes that Google gives you, and then treat it like a social profile. So post photos to it. Make sure you're getting reviews, and it's not about getting 100 reviews and not forgetting about them. If you can just get one review a week, and that's what your pace is, do one review a week.
So there's so many incremental things that somebody has to do. It is never ending. Right? It is a constant thing. If your business is going to exist, you've got to keep putting in the work, right? You can't just do it and then set it and forget it. Right? It's not a good idea to do that. But you clearly have a lot of tips. You have a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of experience and proven examples of what to do and what's worked, maybe where to do it and the timing. So many different variables go into it. I want to focus specifically on the three things that you guys do, the high converting websites. Focus there, and then we'll talk about the SEO element of it and the third part of it that you mentioned at the beginning as well. Let's start on the high converting websites. Tell me briefly, if you can, the importance of that and constantly updating it and what to do. Those things.
Yeah, so initially when we jumped in, I didn't even want to touch web design. I had a creative agency before and just didn't even want to touch design at all or development, and wanted to just focus on SEO. But with cannabis and a lot of retailers, especially in kind of the mom and pop to mid-market, level, we would come into sites and we wouldn't be able to execute what we needed to do for search. It was locked in with some,
poorly built website, not enough functionality.
Not enough functionality, custom coded for some reason because it's a mom and pop. And
this guy built a Ferrari website. He's gonna be able to kill it on mine for my dispensary.
And over time we just ended up building a development team. I brought in one of my really good friends from college. Brian Packnage to head up development. He's still with us today, and we ended up building a development team, and we effectively would take sites that were beautifully designed and basically rebuild the back end, and kind of dial things in, because the first step in good local SEO is a healthy, functioning website, making sure that, you're, again, all the nuts and bolts, what I call checkbox SEO, meta descriptions, page titles, your alt text is taken care of.
If things aren't done, it's not performing as well as it can.
Making sure that, your content is linked correctly and all these things. And in order to do that, you have to be able to have a flexible website that's going to be able to have the content you need to rank. And in order to do that, you kind of have to start with a good website base, and
the majority of traffic in business for dispensaries goes through Google and their website. Is that correct?
Correct. And more specifically, what we kind of call like money keywords: a dispensary near me, weed delivery near me, weed delivery or dispensary in a certain city.
Yeah.
And then deals, if you can do deals. Obviously, there's
dispensary
some
Las Vegas, dispensary strip Las Vegas. Like
exactly.
These different layers.
And so that probably accounts for maybe 80% of overall traffic. Product-based keywords from the menu maybe contribute 10 to 20%.
Wow.
And even out of that
brands and strains and vape this and
well, for local. So again, like let's say if you're like a national MSO, going after strains might work. But let's say if you're like a dispensary in, I don't know, Livermore or East Bay or whatever, owning Wedding King strain on a national basis isn't going to do you anything. It'll bring you a lot of traffic, but it's not going to bring you a lot of conversions.
Yeah.
What's going to bring you a lot of conversions is, having its page, let's say you're in Livermore, dispensary Livermore, and then having a page saying you're a dispensary near Hayward or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's going to actually bring you customers.
People there searching for those things that are there versus national things discovering.
Yeah, and then even if you want a product, it's going to be, hey, we have Jeter available in Livermore or near here, so on and so forth. And there are cannabis tech is interesting. I'll be politically correct about it. But there's a lot of platforms out there that are, giving the ability to put content on, menu pages, category pages, brand pages, which really does help because really SEO is driven by unique content.
So you have this high converting website that has these demands and you have to fill it with things and that, to have a good SEO.
Yeah, and that's really where the SEO comes in, right? So you have to have a good website. And, from a design standpoint, there's, lots of different ways to kind of, skin that cat, whether it's showing deals on the homepage, having, product cards. What we've found from a consumer behavior perspective, at least in a lot of like our smaller market stores, a lot of consumers come in and they just want to get to shopping as fast as possible, whether that's being able to add to cart from the homepage or mostly what we've seen is just, the hero image, with, hey, here's our store, here's our brand name, click shop or click deals.
Yeah.
And that's typically what we've, seen just, convert through. And then having a good menu experience on that back end, clicking through. That's what we've seen work. And so that's why, again, it's like, in order to have good SEO, you have to have that good foundation.
It's a brick by brick. A house isn't built on one piece of wood or one brick, one piece of foundation. It's these layers and all these different moving parts until that foundation is established, right?
Yeah.
And you have so much wisdom in this from all these different examples and partners that you've had all over the years, examples of things that where the internet's changed. I follow you on LinkedIn, a great place to stay tapped in with you as well. Now we have about 2 minutes left, Matt, so I want to make sure we touch a little bit on AdWords. For those of you guys watching, if you guys want to learn more information, deeproots.io is their website. You can always reach out there. There's case studies available. There's other information. Matt is very active on getting information to people quickly because the quicker you learn, the quicker you can apply it, right? We can fix things. When it comes to AdWords and how that applies to this website and SEO, people love to say they can't do things in cannabis. They can't do this on Instagram, can't do this on AdWords. I'm in groups all over the place that of people doing these things. So if you could briefly touch on what you guys do for AdWords and how that directly can impact a dispensary making more revenue.
Yeah. So, first off, you technically, by Google's policy, are not supposed to do AdWords.
You're not supposed to. Okay.
By federal policy, we're also not supposed to be selling weed. And, I've started, obviously, in cannabis, you have to be a scrappy marketer. And, I started, testing Google ads back in 2017. And, there's ways around it. You have to do a landing page and all of that. But, it's something that we do and it's an offer. And the way, again, we don't it's not the first thing that we go to. I truly believe organic search is the best.
That foundation
option.
has to be set for somebody to justify.
Well, I would
doing
actually
it, maybe?
say you don't want, if your foundation is set for organic search, don't touch Google Ads because you're going to cannibalize. You're essentially bidding for the same keywords, right? So if a dispensary actually has decent SEO, let's say their positions 5 through 20, and we can actually get them to the top 3 with some good SEO optimization, I would say don't even touch Google AdWords. The only time I actually recommend Google AdWords is if a dispensary is like totally in the water, like position 50, 60. It's going to take them a long time to kind of get to where they need to go from an organic.
That could potentially add some juice to help them.
Yeah, so that can give them some revenue initially. I also tell dispensaries, like, let's say there's a lot of, public companies or companies that need to show revenue now for whatever reason. Google AdWords, like, okay, cool, we can get ads live in 2 weeks, pending everything works out. Obviously, not all campaigns work out, but, the ones that do are able to start showing return and purchases, like, fairly quickly. The other side to it is if people want to test Google search as a channel, they're scared, they don't want to, invest 6 months into SEO, 6 months a year, and then realize it doesn't convert. And that does happen. We've had campaigns that flop because we get them top ranking for their main keywords, and for whatever reason, market factors, they have shitty parking, all those small town. Google is actually not the channel they should have invested in. They should have invested in community building or anything like that. Probably the first person to tell you SEO is not the first thing you should do.
Interesting.
I believe community building and all of that is really important. You have to act as you're a local business, and I always joke, America, corporations are viewed as people, so your business should act as a good human in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's great feedback right there. I think that's huge and solid advice for all these brands is, the foundation is huge. What your brand looks like is huge. The website and headers and apps and the experience and quick being functionable and
it's
working fast.
It's all amplification.
Yeah,
so it's going to amplify whatever the foundation is. So if you don't have a good brand, if you don't have good operations, all of these tactics is just going to amplify the crappiness. So you want to have that foundation first, because there's no marketing in the world or no advertising in the world that is going to save bad foundation.
Build a solid foundation. Don't amplify the average, the bad. Put this time and effort, folks. Get the education. There's that quote, proper preparation prevents poor performance. And I recommend, and I've been working with you for years and continue to recommend, just at least reaching out and getting the game. And so anybody that has any questions, again, Matt, right here, available. What's the best way for people to reach out and get a hold of you, brother?
Yeah, hit the website. We have a book a call button. Hit me on my LinkedIn, just Matthew Shterenberg. And I'm sure a link will populate.
You guys can reach out.
somewhere.
We'll get it figured out for sure.
We'll reach out to Joey, and we'll get on a call. Happy to take a look at your web presence and whether you're a brand or a retailer. We only work with retailers, dispensaries and deliveries. But if you're a brand, I'm happy to chat and just steer you in the right direction.
Coming live from MJbizcon 2025, Cosmopolitan Suite. Big shout out to True Terpenes and our homie Angela Pye. I love you all. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.